What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Striking Gold, your 49ers podcast on the Blue Wire Network. I am Rob Lowder. That is Kyle Posey. We cover the 49ers for the Blue Wire Network. KP also does that thing for NinersNation.com. And here we are again. We are nearing the end of our little roster rundown series, but we aren't there yet. Before we get started into it, though, I wanted to, KP, you're a bigger baseball guy than I am, too. I wanted to give a little shout out to all the Giants fans who have been going through it all season. We know the Giants aren't exactly like lighting it up, but as a total onlooker, now if I had to ride with a baseball team, it would be the Giants. You know, it would be the Warriors, the Giants, and the 49ers. Keep it simple. But I've just never been a big pro baseball guy, not like anti or anything. Just never. Now every now and then it's on in the Lowder house, but I know that Giants fans have been clamoring for their rookie Bryce Eldridge for quite some time, and that he made his debut. He's done well. He's handled it well, and then they kind of took him in and out of the lineup. And I just remember reading so many upset Giants fans that Bryce Eldridge was not getting out there. And then today I see everybody celebrating a Bryce Eldridge walk-off grand slam. Apparently the Giants were down 9-1 in the 8th, 10-6 in the bottom of the 9th. And then you can check the highlight. It was 10-7 when Bryce Eldridge hits his grand slam. And, I felt happy for them, dude. I even tweeted about it. I was like, dude, this is like a happy Twitter day for all the Giants fans that have been upset, one, at the Giants, and two, that they weren't playing Bryce Eldridge. And then I get to see a highlight of him hitting a walk-off grand slam. I mean, that's like every young baseball player's dream, man. Bottom of the 9th, walk-off grand slam to end it. Doesn't get much better than that, man. What are your feelings there, KP?
Glad to know that my first cousin, Buster Posey, is on it as GM. It was lefty on lefty, man. It's cool.
I'm about to ask you if you're serious.
So when I would go to Giants games, and so when my daughter was little, she'd be wearing she wear Buster's jersey, and she thought that we were related. We were related to him. No, it was cool. You gotta
spin that, man. You gotta find a way to make everybody at least feel like it is, man.
There's no doubt. No, I've played that game online before. It's been fun. You would be surprised how gullible the internet is, right? No, it was dope. It was cool. So lefty on lefty too. After they just were down $1 billion, and they get all those runs in the bottom of the 9th, man. I love baseball, and that's why. But games like that, man, prospects like that. He's our number one prospect. He's supposed to be good, and for him to be this good this early is a pretty good sign. So right on, Buster Bust.
Yeah, I'm just I wanted to lead off with this. I know obviously we're going to have a lot of 49ers fans that are also Giants fans. So I just wanted to know that I'm thinking about you guys, and I'm happy for you. Somebody I'm not happy for. It's hard for me to even say this and get through the words, but apparently Brandon Ayuk thinks the 49ers are stupid for giving him money. The 49ers are mad because they're stupid for paying him. So Brandon Ayuk with a ringing endorsement for his future employers, calling the San Francisco 49ers stupid for giving him money in the latest update. Do you think he's just trying to force his release by being as embarrassing as he can be?
I don't know why he keeps posting. We just talked about this on Monday, but we were talking about a completely different incident.
Right.
So yesterday,
also in his backyard or something.
Right. So yesterday, this man decides to pop off again about the same topic and then just take it a step further. What is he trying to accomplish here, man? We get it. Like, you don't like the team. We've made that very clear. They probably don't like you either. Like, at this point, nobody should be thinking about either side. If he just shuts up, he will give himself a chance to keep playing. Remember, the Cardinals GM, Steve Keim, said if Hannibal Lecter ran a 4.3, we'd like misdiagnose him or something like that. So like he's a good player. Like he's probably not going to be viewed as a great player anymore, but he's a very good player and somebody's going to give him a chance. But now he's looking at like almost like a vet minimum, like tryout type.
Roll of the dice.
Shooting himself in the foot, man. Just shut up, please. Just stop talking, man.
It's so weird, man. It's so weird. Like you hear about, or you've personally experienced, like being in a relationship with somebody, the relationship ends, and then you feel like the other person is like a completely different person. Right. And they treat you with like a vitriol or an anger that you just can't even comprehend. And I feel like that's where the 49ers are with Brandon Ayuk. Like maybe he's always been weird. It definitely got weird in the contract negotiation things. It even got weird after they paid him when he's trying to wear like a different color shorts than everybody else. Like obviously things were already weird. But for him to just let it get this weird, it's like...
The shorts thing was so funny because you remember like he came out. Clearly, nobody else is rocking those shorts. Like, brother, What are you doing? Kyle looks at him like, "What? Come on, man! Like, really? Is that what we're doing?
Like, why do I even have to deal with this at the professional football level?"
Right. So Brandon Ayuk, JUCO kid. I went to JUCO. I know I would spend a year at JUCO. I know how these JUCO kids are. They are not like everybody else. Let's just say that. Extremely talented, otherworldly talented, but a couple screws loose to say the least. But man, it's I just hope he stops talking. That's all I want. I just want him to stop posting, stop talking. And the next time we hear from Brandon Ayuk, hopefully it's in like a Washington jersey or something along those lines where it's about football. It's football related and not arrest warrant or posting online or driving 114 miles an hour. Like, come on, man. Just be normal. Try it. Just be normal for 2 weeks and see how you like it.
Yeah, Lowbridge said he'd been weird during the Super Bowl questions. Dude cares about himself, and that's about it. I think probably now that he mentioned Super Bowl, I think the first time that I really thought, wait, this could get weird was after they lost the Super Bowl. When him or his wife or whoever started posting about the lack of targets and, if they would have gone to him, they would have won it all and stuff. And
which he had every right to be mad about, by the way. Like they did, like he was the featured wide receiver and they gave Debo 8 targets and Debo was not the featured wide receiver. So I understand why you'd be mad. But like he had 1,300 yards and he ended up getting paid.
Right. Man, I wish. Yeah. How bad does Kyle Shanahan just want a time machine that would just keep him from walking up those stairs and saying, wait, keep him, pay him, let's figure it out.
Trade him.
It's the Inception scene where he's banging on the window, like watching himself, like, don't go up those stairs. Anyways, that's about as much time as we're going to dedicate to that again. But if he keeps providing us with things to say, we'll at least mention it in the beginning of the podcast to keep you all updated. But at no point are we ever going to have an episode again on this podcast dedicated to anything Brandon Ayuk does, unless he gets possessed by some other person and all of a sudden becomes a reliable 49ers receiver again, which is not going to happen. So, all right, we hit the defensive line on Monday. I mean, you could think of it as like the engine of the 49ers defense. And now we're on linebackers. So to me, that's kind of like if you're making a car reference, they're kind of like the driver, like Fred Warner. He's got the green dot. He's the one that's in there calling the plays. The 49ers are no stranger to elite linebackers. And right now in this moment, they're back to having two of the best. Now, obviously there's some gray area when it comes to Dre Greenlaw, but let's run through the linebacker, position. And that's this. It might be a shorter pod because this is all we're going to throw ourselves into today. But me and KP obviously have this weird ability to just keep things rolling. So who's on the roster? Additions, subtractions, and then just linebacker talking points. So obviously on the roster is All-Pro Fred Warner. It's all pro Fred and big play Dre, right? Those were the those were the nicknames.
Quality nicknames too.
Quality. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Tatum Bethune, Nick Martin, Luke Gifford, Garrett Wallow, Jaden Duggar, and Jalen Graham. Additions and subtractions. Obviously, you lost D. Winters, who was one of their starters last season, traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 fifth rounder. Who, it wasn't the exact pick, it was 152 overall, but you could essentially call that a swap for D. Winters for the rookie Jaden Duggar. And then the big additions are Dre Greenlaw and Jaden Duggar. Everybody else that's on this group was on this group last season. So we got to start from the top. Hold on. Let's see what Big Tone has to say. Are the 49ers going to go? And it's obviously early. We haven't got to training camp, but it's the season possibly with an unprecedented amount of rookie D linemen and some of them undrafted. Well, we'll see. We talked defensive line last year, but I'm sure we'll incorporate them into the conversation. But you start with Fred Warner. I mean, shouldn't skip a beat, right? Are we expecting anything weird or offbeat or out of the ordinary with Fred Warner at all? Or is we just expecting him to jump right in?
Yeah, man. Just at OTAs, he was hopping around. He didn't do anything, but he was jumping around. He looked like he could have played. He looked like he could have practiced. He looked like he could have done the team drill. So I think he's good to go, man. There were some pretty cool stories this offseason about his training and like him learning how to swim and how much that helped just his flexibility. So I would imagine Fred Warner looks like Fred Warner. So this Fred Warner, like he's been like a superstar, one of the most dynamic players pretty much since 2019. When it was strange though, right? So he's played 99% of the snaps since ever. Like he's always been a very, 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 very good player. And the 49ers know that. And the 49ers have cultivated a defense around him because they know what he's capable of. So as soon as he left, like that Tampa Bay game, Baker Mayfield just over the middle, just like and part of the
middle
Red
of the
Sea
field
parted,
just open for him.
And what do you know? Now all of a sudden you can complete passes over the middle. So I just thought that was pretty interesting, the way that they go from not targeting the middle of the field at all to now like that's the only part they're focused on. So some numbers for people just to put into perspective like how much Fred Warner means to the 49ers defense. The Niners with Fred Warner on the field last year, so teams play action passes, you're going to get over on other teams just by situation, just how the play is structured. So the 49ers defense allowed 7.9 yards per attempt on play action passes last year with Warner on the field, or without Warner on the field, I should say, compared to just 5.5. So a pretty steep drop in that. That 5.5, by the way, 5.5 yards per attempt.
It's like a 50% increase.
The best in the NFL when he was on the field. And honestly, like when DVOA was a thing, when that site was still running, they had like insane numbers, like historic numbers of defending the middle of the field. And that was largely because number 54. They're same, like just allowing the big play. So with Warner on the field, it was 10.2% explosive play rate last year. That was almost double with him off when he left. So it jumped to 19.3%. So just of how they were able to operate, what other teams were able to get away with without Warner on the field was night and day. It didn't look like the same defense because it wasn't the same defense. So Warner's known as being this all-world, all-everything pass defender, but I don't think he really gets enough credit for what he does as a run defender. I thought last year was I don't want to say first time, but the first time in a long, long time, or maybe his entire career, where I thought he was equally as good of a run defender as he was as a pass defender, which is what made him so special. I legitimately thought he was in the case running for defensive MVP before he was hurt. So Warner recorded 8 run stuffs just prior to that week 6 injury, which would have ranked top 6 among all linebackers. Again, just some of his run stuff rates were just near the top, and those numbers fell off once he was off. So once he got hurt, I would imagine the 49ers defense creeps back into the top 10 and just hovers around that range, not just because of Nick Bosa, but because of Fred Warner. I think what Warner was able to add last year is just almost unspeakable. Like I can just spam you with stats over and over, but like we know how good he is. But still, I feel like his run defense is underrated, and I think that's going to really make a change and help the 49ers because he's able to play finally, as opposed to 2023 and 2024 behind pass rushing D tackles. Now he gets to play behind these behemoths, these 330-pound linemen, these 315-pound linemen. I think that's going to make him much better. They also added another linebacker, Rob, Dre Greenlaw. Have you heard of him?
It rings a bell. It does a little bit. I know he's highly regarded in these circles. Fred Warner, though, did he not kind of like change the linebacker position forever? It feels like he was at the forefront of that like conversion and rollover from linebackers being like, the Patrick Willis was a little bit of that way. But I mean, linebackers used to be solely there to stop the run, and they were huge, giant dudes. And it feels like Fred Warner was one of the very first linebackers that kind of made that overlap, that pie graph towards highly athletic. Fred Warner just happens to be that can cover. Fred Warner just happens to be this freak athlete that can still do both. But I feel like Fred Warner almost pioneered. There may have been people in front of him that I'm not giving their dues to, so I don't want to seem like a total homer that's just like Fred Warner did it all. But it felt like he led the new wave of linebackers that all of a sudden, I mean, who was it? Marquise Brown on the Ravens?
Yeah.
Who was it? When had you
in
ever
2019? And
right.
That was like
7 years ago.
the 4-2 version of like Hollywood Brown. So like no scrub, no slow guy at any means. I remember talking to Richard Sherman, and he was like, yeah, like whenever a team goes empty, Fred just takes number 3, who's like the number 3 wide receiver, the slot receiver. Fred just takes number 3 everywhere. Like, you're not doing that. And he's like, no, for real. Like, that's what we do. And you could see like the play you're talking about. There's so many examples of him running all over the field. I remember I posted a clip a couple years ago when he's running up the field when Jerry Judy was on the Broncos. He's 40 yards down the field running stride for stride with his 4-4 wide receiver. And the quarterback's like, nope, not going to throw it there. There's no safety help, no nothing. And they're still terrified
when a wide receiver on a linebacker is universally considered an absolute like auto target, auto throw. And Fred Warner is just, he's that guy. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, is he not?
I think that, so yes, the reason I say yes too is because the way that he's able to change the way other like defenses are able to operate. So now you're seeing more and more linebackers get credit for carrying number 3 wide receivers down the field. But Warner's been doing this for so long, man. And like I said, the way he improved against the run last year, all but cements his Hall of Fame case to me. So when I think of Patrick Willis, I think of Willis more of this is like a tough name. I know it's a sore subject, like a Reuben Foster mold. That he was so dominant, he was so physical, he was so overpowering near the line of scrimmage. Obviously, Willis had a knack for getting in throwing lanes, a la pick six, the pick stick, whatever. My mind's blanking. But in my mind,
talking about Navarro Bowman's pick at the stick.
That yes, in my mind, like Willis and Bowman, like those kind of linebackers were more like thumpers who were serviceable in coverage, who were like good but not overwhelmingly good, right? Not to the point where like they can legitimately erase a wide receiver. And that's what Warner does, which is why the 49ers should have no problem getting back to that top 10-ish range defensively.
And then next to Warner coming back in the fold is like EP said, Dre Greenlaw, man. I mean, and to me, and I put that on the notes, Dre Greenlaw has got to be, like, in my opinion, and maybe we'll make this into its own pod down the line, is like the ultimate X factor for this entire team. Like an X factor meaning you're not quite sure. It could be incredibly good. It could be not incredibly bad, but it could be bad. It just feels like Dre Greenlaw is just this massive cornerstone because, I mean, we all saw it. Dre Greenlaw, tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl. Took him a long time to come back. But during that brief moment when he was back, before he had to leave the field again because of continued nagging injuries, he just has the ability next to Fred Warner to completely change the defense. And if you just think about if the 49ers, and I know this sounds like an oxymoron, funny thing to say, but if the 49ers get lucky with Dre Greenlaw's health and that stuff is in the review mirror and he comes back and he plays, 90% of the games, I mean, that is a huge deal. You're talking about one of the better linebackers in the NFL stepping in next to Fred Warner. Now, obviously, the injuries have kept him from maintaining that status on a consistent basis. But he was the last time he was with the 49ers. And I got a quote from Nick Wagner here of ESPN In his first 6 seasons with the 49ers, the 49ers were 52-24 when Dre Greenlaw was on the field. Now, again, that's a team-wide stat. They allowed 20 points per game, 1.6 takeaways, and 2 defense expected points per game when CPOE when Dre Greenlaw was on the field. All those numbers dropped significantly. It's not good podcast content to try and compare them, but when Greenlaw was not on the field, they were 16-20. They allowed 22.3 points per game, so that's a whole 2.3 more, and they only had 1.2 takeaways per game compared to the 1.6. KP's got a lot more statistics when it comes to just the impact that Greenlaw adds, but I'm trying to emphasize that in my mind, like, we're not quite sure what to expect from this 49ers defense yet. You've got a lot of new pieces in there. Some people are enthusiastic about, some people are a little uneasy about, and I can see why people would be both directions with Dre Greenlaw. You could be both excited and a little uneasy at the same time. But if things work out and Dre Greenlaw is healthy, there probably is not a bigger swing of the pendulum than from adding Dre Greenlaw into that mix, because we know what it looks like. And we know what it looks like. Everybody was intimately acquainted with what it looks like when he was out. And just for that brief flash, I think it was against the Rams. Was it against the Rams when he came back?
It was.
And he didn't even finish the game. But for the moment, the little bit of time that he was out there, I think it was like a quarter, not even a half.
That was their best. That was their best defensive half of the season.
It was. And it was like, there it is.
It was not close either.
Yeah. So it's a
against that team too, against like one of the best,
right,
if not the best offense in the NFL.
Dre Greenlaw being back on this team is a huge deal. Big old if with stars and whatever you want on either side of it, exploding things. Yeah. If he can stay healthy. KP, what else you got on Greenlaw?
Yeah, I mean, just listening to Trent Williams talk about him last week, you could feel like they lost a family member. The fact that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch were willing or went out of their way to go after him, and like, didn't they fly to like Texas or whatever to hey, no,
went to his house.
We actually want you to come. No, for real. Trent Williams said that was like they felt like they lost a brother. So it was good to have a brother back. He also compared the linebacker duo, Warner and Greenlaw, to like having Batman and Robin back at linebacker. So you can just feel the energy. You can feel the presence, his presence. The atmosphere was different in that Rams game last season when he did come back just for that half. He was the best player on the field, which is insane. There are a lot. I was actually watching some of Denver, a little bit of Denver's numbers, just to see like, okay, is he the same player? And then it backed up a lot of what I saw. So per next gen stats, of course, Greenlaw in the first game back, so it was week 9, he recorded 4 run stuffs, and like, again, almost like the Rams game where he was always going to make an impact. But again, that was just his second game back. That was just he played 27 snaps. Only 27 of 72 snaps, and he still had those 4 run stops. Those 4 run stops would have tied Greenlaw with 2 other linebackers, Fred Warner and Patrick Queen, 2 all-pro linebackers, mind you, for the most of any game of the 2025 season. So that just tells you like Greenlaw was like, he still has it, and he continued that. So as I mentioned, that was the first game. He actually only reached those 3 run stops 3 times in his 6-year career. So pretty impressive debut. And then through 2 games, when you combine the first 2 games that he played, Greenlaw actually recorded the second highest run tackle rate, which was 31%. So he's making 31% of the tackles on the field. Hello. He had the highest run stop rate, so 24%. So a quarter of the time he's making tackles at or near the line of scrimmage. And then, of course, he had the second highest run stuff rate of any linebacker in the league. Another stat that I think really helps the 49ers is his broken tackle rate. Like, you don't really remember Dre Greenlaw being the sloppy tackler. So for his career, his missed tackle rate's about 15%. Last year, it was 14%. So like, he's been very consistent. Last year, one of the biggest issues with D. Winters was missing tackles. D. Winters had a missed tackle rate of 25.7%. So I like D. Winters quite a bit. I think he can give you more in coverage. I am curious to see how the 49ers use Greenlaw in coverage. We are a few years removed from, and an injury removed from, Greenlaw being he was like number 1 in the NFL in receptions over expected in 2023. But again, that was Achilles. That was playing next to Warner, where his role is just a little different. I thought Winters just got the short end of the stick last year, where like they were putting in him some pretty brutal situations in coverage where he didn't stand a chance. But now that's going to change, right? That's going to change for Greenlaw just because Warner's back. So I am kind of fascinated to see how he is used. But as a run defender strictly, and knowing how thumbs down the 49ers were last year against the run, adding Greenlaw and Warner is just going to be like they're going to be so much like they could only be better based on the product that they put on the field last season. But I think improving from Winters to Greenlaw in the sense of a run defense standpoint, it's going to be so much better, and they're going to look like a much different team, I would imagine. So from the impact standpoint, from that presence that, just aura he has, you can sense like why they wanted Greenlaw so bad.
Well, I'm just thinking like, okay, so you take last year's defense, just think of the increase in effectiveness and just overall, yeah, like you said, aura, vibes, whatever. Like, okay, so you've got the last year's 49ers defense standing there, and then you send Fred Warner out there. You're like, hey, you guys get this guy back. And then you send Dre Greenlaw back there, and you're like, hey, you guys get this guy back too. Then you send Nick Bosa out there, and you're like, hey, you guys get this guy back too. And then, eventually Michael Williams comes back into the fold. You can see just how – and they've made other additions too. Oso Odigizua is back in there. And then they've got some new outside linebacker pass rush talent to play with. It's just like, man, it can't be overstated just how much more talent is stepping onto the field at the start of the season. Knock on wood, no injuries in training camp and stuff like that. And again, it's just, I have to preface it over and over and over. And I'm sure you guys are like, yeah, we get it, Rob. We get it. If he's healthy, whatever. But it's like, man, if the 49ers,
that matters.
If the 49ers can just get a little luck and get Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner on the field for the majority of games, they're Super Bowl favorites again, man. Not favorites, excuse me. They're Super Bowl contenders again. It matters. It's a huge, huge deal. It's not a fandom thing. It's not a blow and smoke thing. It's just like I just think Dre Greenlaw is one of the absolute biggest difference makers in this entire season. If he stays on the field, those two linebackers have a chance to create some magic.
How many games does he play in 2026?
Why are you asking me this? Why are you don't put that kind of evil on me, Ricky Bobby?
It matters, man. So if Dre Greenlaw stays healthy,
what's the over/under? Let's say that.
Yeah, no, that's a more realistic question, right? So, are we going to see double-digit games from Dre Greenlaw in 2026?
I'll say yes.
If Dre Greenlaw plays 10-plus games for the 49ers defense, they are going to realistically they have the shot to get to like another NFC championship. Like he could mean that much to them because Fred Warner is so much better with Dre Greenlaw on the field. The run defense, as I mentioned, is going to be so much better. And because your run defense is going to be so much better now, guys like Romello Height, guys like Grayson Holden, guys like Oso Odigizua, like your premier pass rushers that you're going to be relying on are going to have opportunities to rush the passer because you stop the run. So the trickle-down effect for Greenlaw is going to go a long, long way. I don't know. I have no idea what to expect. Do you take some off his plate and do you make him just less of a every down linebacker? I want to say Denver did that a little bit, but I just don't know. I don't know what to expect from Raheem Morris. I don't know if there are any wrong answers. It might be like a wait and see. Hey, we figure it out on the fly. We see what he can and can't do. But that's a pretty good segue into like our next linebackers because if those other linebackers can cover, why wouldn't you give Greenlaw some time off, right? Why wouldn't you let him be excellent at what he's excellent at and let these other speedy, rangy, young linebackers you have on your roster just go guard somebody, right? Just dumb it down and make them or allow them to use their athleticism. So KJ Wright talked a little bit about it. KJ Wright talked about the third linebacker, and he wants that person to be versatile. He wants that guy to be just flexible, and that's what he's going to have to be. So we talked a little bit about it a couple podcasts ago, the difference between like the 4-3 Sam and a 4-3 Jack. 49ers are looking at more of a Sam, in my opinion, than a Jack, where that guy's going to be realistically more of a run underneath flat type of player than a pass rusher who's in coverage. So it's going to be maybe Jay Duggar, maybe Nick Martin. What do you think, Rob? Where do you want to start with here?
I mean, I think we should start with Nick Martin, but I don't think that necessarily answers the question at all. You know, Nick Martin's their second year, third round linebacker that really didn't get to play a lot as a rookie, struggled to get out of the concussion protocol from when he did play briefly. And I believe the concussion he got was on special teams, wasn't it? I can't remember. It might not be true. I don't want to speak on that. But you would think Nick Martin's the next in line to be the third linebacker, but at the same time, I know that he's kind of stuck exclusively at that will position. When he came in last season briefly, was it at Sam?
So he was playing a little bit of Sam, and then I believe the Cardinals game where they just didn't have anybody is when I think he got a dozen snaps or something along those lines. But he was playing off the ball, so he was playing either Mike or Will. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I don't either. So
it wasn't enough to have like a strong takeaway about who the player is.
Well, and the 49ers have kept him exclusively at will. And the way that 49ers look at their linebacker position, it's not like a hierarchy where Fred Warner's the best, so he's the Mike. Dre Greenlaw is the second best, so he's the Will. That's kind of applies to just them, but behind them, they have guys that are there. There's one guy to back up Fred Warner. That's Tatum Bethune. That's why he came in to the defense right after Fred Warner went down. The guy backing up Dre Greenlaw is Nick Martin, and he's the backup Will. I don't even know if he's the backup Will at this point. He might even be third string right now, and he's going to have to work his way up. So just because Nick Martin might be seen as the third best linebacker does not mean that he's who they're going to want at Sam, which is kind of like a different skill set. You know, Sam is, like you're saying, it depends on how they're going to use him. Is he going to be more of a linebacker? Is he going to be more of a pass rusher? That Sam linebacker is and this kind of goes into Jaden Duggar too. We can work into the conversation, but depending on who you're using at that Sam linebacker, gives you a lot of versatility as a defensive coordinator. Like you can deploy a normal 4-man front, but depending on what that Sam linebacker can do or who you have out there, he might roll down and be like your fifth defensive lineman, like a defensive end. He might, pull back and be like a more traditional linebacker that's covering the flats or the underneath. So it's hard to know what they want to do. It's hard to know who they want to do it with. I just don't know what to even expect from Nick Martin at this point. Is he even going to make the roster, or is he going to be on the field? Like, that's the wild range of expectations with Nick Martin. Is he going to make the roster? Is he going to be on the field?
Imagine if they cut him? If they cut a guy they drafted, a year removed?
I don't think that will happen, but if you look at who they have at linebacker and how each player will be utilized, the one that stands out the most as being in a tough spot is Nick Martin. Now, again, he could still make the roster and just not be on the field very often. He could even be inactive for game days. We just don't know what they're planning to do with him. The thing with Nick Martin that he does have going for himself, though, is
the one thing the 49ers don't have
is he was really good at blitzing, and he was really good at rushing the passer at college. So if you wanted to put him at stand linebacker and use him as a guy that can, almost a blitzer, a pass rusher that can also do linebacker things, then that seems, like a natural fit for him. But like I said, they've kind of kept him exclusively at that will spot and haven't really shown an interest in placing and plugging him in at other spots. Now, new defensive coordinator, things could be completely different. It depends. My point is there's a lot of question marks when it comes to Nick Martin and what the 49ers are going to want him to do. Like, what's your read, man? Do you think he's the next guy on the field as a third linebacker, or is he kind of in a little linebacker purgatory?
So let's talk about those other names, right? So the other linebackers behind, so it's Warner, it's Greenlaw, and then it's just like pick a name out of a hat at this point, right? They're going to give multiple guys a chance. Shanahan did say they like Tatum Bethune at Mike. If Tatum Bethune makes it, it'll be for special teams purposes. But like there are other players on the roster, same. Luke Gifford, that's a special teamer. So you have Gifford, you have Bethune, and I don't even know if Bethune makes it. He's a seventh
an all-pro special teamer, right? Didn't he make the all-pro list?
Gifford sure did, yeah.
Yeah.
They just drafted a guy, Jaden Duggar, who we'll get into as well. They also have Garrett Wallow, who they added. So Garrett Wallow is another potential special teamer who they could, they probably like. They said all the right things about him. So that's kind of the group that we're looking at here. I don't think Jalen Graham's going to do anything. I don't think he's done enough over the course of however many tries that they've given him to be like, all right, he deserves a roster spot. But I don't know, man. I think Martin has too many tools to give up on. You mentioned the pass rushing prowess that he had in college. That's something that you want to find out in the NFL. Like a guy that can run the way he can, the guy that can be that rangy, I would have a hard time giving up on him. But that's up to Raheem Morris to figure out, all right, let me put this dude in a situation and see like what he can do. So if it's not rushing the passer from the edge, walk him down over the line of scrimmage, over the A gap, over the center, right? And give him an opportunity where he can use his athleticism against one of us slower interior offensive linemen. There are ways. Give him a running start as a blitzer. Like there are ways you can give him, whether it's a runway to use the speed or just stunts, right? If he's fast, so he can cover ground. There are plenty of different ways where you can use Nick Martin. The question is, like, does he have the smarts to pull it off? Does he have the football IQ? Does he have the awareness, the timing to execute all of these things? That's what the 49ers need to find out. And unfortunately, you don't really get to figure that out until it's too late. You don't get to figure that out until it's actual game time. He can be the best practice player of all time, but if it doesn't click when the lights turn on, when the lights are bright, then none of that really matters. So I am pretty fascinated to see what we get from Nick Martin, if he's even a part of the game plan. Even if he makes the freaking roster, who knows? But it'll come down between Martin and then, of course, Jaden Duggar.
Yeah, so I got Jaden Duggar on here next, and I saw someone tweet somewhere that he was kind of a standout in 49ers OTAs, and I was like, who has mentioned him as a standout? I haven't seen anybody mention him. So I got on Twitter and I searched Jaden Duggar, and I was like, I can't find any examples of him standing out other than maybe standing there and looking like he's standing out because of the way he stands there. You know, you're like, hey, that's a tall guy. He's standing out. And then I found KP's tweet from when he was there. Wrong. And KP said Jaden Duggar is an interesting one. He has a better feel or read than I initially thought. Saw him slip a couple blocks today and beat guys to spots. So KP, you, among both of us, there's only one person here that has seen Jaden Duggar live and in person. So it would have been a short impression, a short window, but it was enough to tweet about. So what's your read on Jaden Duggar? And again, that's somebody that who knows how they're going to use him. He might even be a tight end. I don't know.
So fun fact, my last year of coaching high school football, I coached linebackers. And that was my first year ever. So I had to like learn on the fly. I'm researching, I'm watching all these different videos and drills, just trying to figure out, okay, what are these guys supposed to do? What are they supposed to read? What are they looking at? And from what I saw, like things were clicking. You could see the wheels turning, but he was processing everything in real time. And of course, no pads. This is team. He's not going against Trent Williams. He's having to beat Enrique Cruz to the spot. He's going against Connor Colby, but he was winning. And that's what you want to see. You want to see a guy who's trusting what he sees and who wins. So when I saw that, when I saw him just be aggressive, when I saw him like put himself in a position to make a tackle near the line of scrimmage, I thought that was really impressive. So he has something to build off is the easiest way to put it. I'm not saying he's the next Fred Warner. I'm not saying he's the next Dre Greenlaw. I'm saying he's better.
Write that down. KP said Jaden Duggar is the next Fred Warner.
So if you think about it, though, over the years, Dre was a Sam, like right off the bat. He was a Sam because Aziz was a Will. Aziz was a Sam. He couldn't get off the field because I forgot who the linebacker was at the time, but it was a guy who was not very good. So eventually, though, those guys worked their way into being full-time players. So to me, Duggar seems like the kind of player who could potentially work himself into that spot. So without Warner and Greenlaw on the field, Duggar was playing that Will spot. So maybe they see Duggar or they envision Duggar as the third down guy. Maybe that's who does fill in for Greenlaw, you know, if Greenlaw goes down with an injury. So that's where I say it'll be interesting just to see, because from a football standpoint, and again, this is like 90 minutes of watching a player. From a football standpoint, it seems like Duggar has the football IQ, the processing skills that you would like from an off-ball linebacker compared to Nick Martin, who at this point is probably just like a run and chase. You just like he's see ball, get ball kind of guy. So I think Duggar has a leg up, and it helps when your coach likes you, when your coach put his stamp on you. Speaking of KJ Wright, so he has that in his corner. He has the guy he needs to in his corner.
Yeah, it sounds like KJ Wright was basically jumping on the table, pitching a fit, grabbing his ears, and saying,
He said he saw himself in Duggar, which is like easy now. If you're talking about like the hierarchy of linebackers over the past decade or so, KJ Wright's up there for me. I would put KJ Wright up there with like the Donta Hightowers, like top 5 linebackers of the past decade. So if he says Duggar is a guy, Duggar is somebody we can build on, that's a pretty high compliment to me. That's a ton of praise.
Yeah, to me, Jaden Duggar is the ultimate, and Lowbridge was talking about him right here. He said, Duggar, I got the feels. I'm super excited to see him have niche on and see him have his niche and on special teams. The dude has incredible measurables. Yeah, Jaden Duggar is what, 6'5", 6'4". Let me go to the
He's
official.
a large human being. I know that.
6'4", 240 pounds. I believe he has 35-inch arms. I don't see his hand size on here. And he's played 3 different positions. He's played safety, he's played defensive end, and he finished with linebacker. If there's one player, if you really want like your Sam or your third linebacker to be a versatile piece capable of doing multiple things, then Jaden Duggar is obviously the guy that has to do that. It's just a matter of if he can put it all together. Because part of the reason he played 3 different positions is because he didn't really find a home in any of them. And his coach said that he liked him best at linebacker. So maybe if he had spent more time in college, maybe that would have been his home, and that's where he would have played multiple seasons. But if there's one player on this list that can really flourish if everything clicks and the 49ers defense can truly benefit from if it clicks, it's Jaden Duggar. Now, will it click? I don't know. It's just I didn't really have access to a whole lot of his film type of things. Yes, you can see the one highlight clip from his Shrine Bowl where he runs from the far side of the field and comes all the way across, and somebody kind of pushes him in the back, and then he makes the tackle. Everybody likes to show that over and over again. But I don't know what's going to become of him. I don't know what to make of him, but I do know that he probably gives him the strongest versatility to switch between like a 4 and a 5-man front. You've got a guy that can play linebacker. He can play safety. He's played defensive end. He's the size of a defensive end. He doesn't have the girth, like the strength and the width of a defensive end, but he does have
maybe
the
he can fill out. And maybe that's
Yeah.
part of the reason they drafted him, because when you are that tall, the odds of you putting on weight are very, very good. So I think that has to be factored in as well, where hey, maybe it's not this year, maybe it's not next year, but maybe 2 years down the line, they can see him as like a 250 kind of guy, 255, where he's comfortable living on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and if he's 240 pounds now and he looks relatively skinny, then imagine, if he bulks up to 250, 255, 260, and all of a sudden he is a genuine defensive end that might be comfortable carrying around a weight and still moving like a person that's still much, much smaller. So it's
going to go out on a limb and say the 49ers facilities are going to be a little bit better than Louisiana Lafayette's facilities. So that'll allow him to put on some LBs.
Yeah, and so, huge unknown. It'll be cool to see how he's used throughout training camp. Hopefully you and I are there watching practices, because that would be one of the things I would be most interested to see. Is he a Sam? Is he a backup to one of the other positions? Is he something in between? It really might be one of the biggest kind of like question marks of training camp is, what is this guy going to be? And like you said, maybe he makes absolutely no impact this year. Which wouldn't be a surprise at all. He's a 5th-round pick. You got to make the roster before you actually get on the field. And then you go from there. So, and the other thing I had on here that we could probably close with is, there's a chance that the Sam linebacker isn't even a linebacker at all. And maybe it's somebody like Romello Height, that is, the size of a big linebacker, and obviously he plays defensive end. He's a pass rusher, but the 49ers aren't going to really want him as an every down player. But they might want him on they're not going to want him as an every down defensive end, but they might want him on the field every down. It depends. They might want him rushing the passer on obvious passing downs. And then when you're in more of a base formation, they might think enough of Romello Height's ability to kind of use him as a linebacker, but be able to switch things up in a moment's notice to all of a sudden be rushing the passer with a 5-man front. So I have no idea what they're going to – again, the whole point of this last little section is we have no idea what they're going to do with the Sam linebacker. We have no idea who's going to play it, and we have no idea how they're going to use him on the field. But there's even the option that, the Sam linebacker's not on the field, and, that's when somebody like Romello Height is on the field, or it's some weird option where Romello Height is the Sam linebacker, but they're just not letting – It's all about being able to do multiple things with the same personnel without having to switch out and sub out. So if Jaden Duggar gives you the most options, then maybe he's got a good shot to surprise everybody and earn that role. If Romello Height gives you the most options, and he makes you better as a pass rusher, but you might suffer a little bit as a linebacker. It just depends. Obviously, defensive or offensive coordinators are going to target somebody, like if they know somebody like Romello Heights at a linebacker spot and might have to drop back into coverage, that'll get, especially in something like 3 tight end sets, that'll get tested. But I don't know. I doubt they plug in Luke Gifford again. They tried that last year and the results weren't great, Bob.
You cannot play him. You cannot. But he got hunted. It was almost like how people hunt players, like undersized players in basketball games. When teams got when they were aware that 59 is on the field, it's like the coach in the press box, like, hey, we got him, call it. And that's all it took, because he was food for opposing offenses. So I think Raheem Morris understands that. And Gifford's, I think he's over 30. I think he's closer to 32, 33. So he can live on special teams. And that's why you draft just these young athletes, so they can be the ones to run down the field, right? So they can be the ones you lose with. I'd rather lose with an uber athlete than, the heady veteran at linebacker.
Right. Okay. That's the entire position. I mean, the only person we didn't really give a lot of screen time to is Garrett Wallow, who got starting reps late last season when injuries started to kind of take their course. But he's also great on special teams. Last year, they kept 5 linebackers. So work your way through the list. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, let's say Tatum Bethune, we'll say Nick Barton, Luke Gifford, again, an all-pro special teamer. You're already at 5. And then you've got Jaden Duggar, Garrett Wallow, and Jalen Graham. So there is going to be, they might keep more than 5, but there's going to be some tough decisions to be made here. And that's why I floated the idea very gently that even somebody like Nick Martin might not be able to make the roster just based on what the decisions they're going to have to make. Do I think that happens? I do not. No, I think they're going to give Nick Martin a chance to earn his spot this year. But there are going to be some tough decisions to be made there, especially when you're considering what goes on special teams. But all right, everybody, appreciate it. Nothing else, right, KP?
No, we got it, man. It's going to be fun to watch it play out, right? Look, there's so much to learn about these guys, specifically Duggar and Martin, that we shouldn't be making these, grand proclamations about, oh, he's going to start here, he's going to start there. They will tell us what's going to happen.
Right. All right, everybody, appreciate you. If you're in the YouTube channel right now, do us a favor. Make sure you like the stream, like the thing. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you're subscribing. If you're listening to the podcast right now and you haven't jumped on the YouTube, do that. Subscribe to the channel. Be a part of the conversation. We love having you guys in here, and we will incorporate you as often as it makes sense. I think that's it. I think we did the damn thing. Again, just appreciate everybody. YouTube channel is steadily growing. I love it. We got a comment just the other day. It said this YouTube channel is way too good to have less than 300 subscribers. And I was like, yeah, well, I appreciate it, but we're just getting started. We'll get there. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for just being along for the ride. But you already know what it is. For another episode, that's KP. I'm Rob. This is Striking Gold, and we are signing out.